You know, the Klavanless weekend is coming upon us, and like I said, we are going to complete this absolute masterpiece of commentary that actually is extended over 4 beautiful days as these themes have unfolded, and the Democrats have helped out by just playing close to type. Now the House Judiciary Committee has voted to hold Attorney General William Barr in contempt, and this has to be confirmed by the rest of the House, but of course they're in favor of it. The House leadership has been in favor of this. The vote was along party lines, 24 votes in favor of the contempt citation and 16 votes against. This is because, well, I'll tell you why. Mr. Barr refused to comply with a subpoena seeking an unredacted Mueller report, okay, and the underlying evidence. So here's Jerry Nadler announcing this terrible, terrible crisis that we're all in.
It's an attack on the ability of the American people to know what the executive branch is doing and to have responsible government. It is an attack on the essence of our democracy, and we must oppose this with every fiber of our being. And that's why we today referred a contempt citation to the House floor. The House will have to vote that contempt citation to begin the court battle. There can be no higher stakes than this attempt to arrogate all power to the executive branch away from Congress, and more important, away from the American people. We've talked for a long time about approaching a constitutional crisis. We are now in it. We are now in a constitutional crisis.
He has to tell you, because if he didn't tell you, you wouldn't know. I mean, look out the window; things are going great. But we're fighting for the essence of democracy with every fiber of our being, which makes the whole thing sound like either a cereal or a clothing store. Dress warm. You got to store, freeze-dried food and have a lot of water in bottles, because this constitutional crisis is going to be it's a doozy. It's a doozy. It's all make believe. It is all make believe. They can't impeach the guy because they know the public will not stand for it. They haven't accomplished anything. This Congress has accomplished virtually nothing. And what they're talking about is corrupt. Okay, it is utter nonsense. They want the Mueller report unredacted. Barr has given them the entire report unredacted, with one exception. I'll get to that in a minute. And not one Democrat has gone to look at it. Not one of them has gone to look at it. He has given them almost the entire report. The one thing he can't give them is he can't give them grand jury testimony. It is not allowed. It's against the law for him to give them grand jury testimony. You testify in a grand jury under the conditions of secrecy. And the reason, of course, is because if I go into a grand jury and say things about you and you're not indicted, then there's no reason for any stuff I said about you to become public. That's protecting people's innocence. So here is Sarah Sanders, the president's spokeswoman, talking back and talking just plain sense here. This is cut 2.
I think it's so absurd, this idea that Congress doesn't get to see the Mueller report. In fact, there's a less redacted version of the Mueller report sitting there waiting on them to come and look at it. Not a single Democrat has even taken the time to go and look at it. They're asking for information they know they can't have. The Attorney General is actually upholding the law. Chairman Nadler, take a minute to let this sink in. Chairman Nadler is asking the Attorney General of the United States to break the law and commit a crime by releasing information that he knows he has no legal authority to have. It's truly outrageous and absurd what the chairman is doing, and he should be embarrassed that he's behaving this way.
Sarah Sanders gave the other reason why Trump is now declaring executive privilege. They've just had enough. And if the American people haven't had enough, the American people are being conned. But you can con some of the people some of the time, and all of the people, you can con some of the people all of the time, and all of the people some of the time, but you can't con them all the time. And that is what the Democrats are doing. And Sanders just tells them the White House has had enough.
The way that we see this is that this is over, and just because the Democrats didn't like the results doesn't mean they get to redo this process. We've spent 2 years, millions of taxpayer dollars, submitted millions of pages in documents, been fully cooperative, hundreds of hours of testimony, and Bob Mueller came back and said there was no collusion. If Bob Mueller couldn't find it, I am 100% sure that Jerry Nadler is not going to find anything that Bob Mueller couldn't. He can't even handle asking the Attorney General questions. Do we really think he could handle something like this? I think the answer is no.
They've just had enough. And it really is true that they couldn't even ask Barr questions. They set up a situation in which Barr was bound to say, I'm not coming in, because it wasn't the usual questioning by elected representatives. They wanted him questioned for 30 minutes straight by counsel. That's never been done before, as far as I know. I don't think it has ever been done before. And he said, no, I'll come in and talk to elected officials. I'm not going to come in and have your counsel badger me for 30 minutes. Look, this is a really, really interesting piece of show art. That is what we're watching. We're watching a reality TV star, Donald Trump, right, up against people who have controlled our perception of reality by controlling the entertainment and the news media, the left. The left is the entertainment and the news media, and it's the Democrat Party. They are all one thing. So they think they have the power to do this. But for the first time, they are up against somebody who knows exactly how this game is played. That's why they hate him so much. It's really not his policies. He's a pretty standard middle of the road to the right Republican. I mean, he hasn't done anything that's so incredibly untoward that no Republican would have done it. I think virtually any Republican would have done it. No other Republican would have won. Why? Because no other Republican understands that the fight is in the narrative. That is the thing Trump knows. It's the thing Ted Cruz, whom I love him on policy, but he doesn't understand that the narrative is everything. The fight is always against the media. And that's the fight we're seeing. We're seeing these guys who are so used, the Democrats are so used to having the press give them cover. They're so used to having the press give them cover that they feel free to invent reality. They're inventing a crisis. They're inventing an impeachment that's not going on at all. And Donald Trump gets it. And what he is doing is he's saying, bring it, bring impeachment. Go ahead, bring your crisis. Let's see how you do. Let's see how that affects people. And Nancy Pelosi knows it. She was the one who was complaining, whining about, oh, he's impeaching himself. He's goading us. Well, here she is. She's still talking about it now. She was talking about it yesterday, saying he's goading us, and here she is still talking about it.
And I have said the president is goading us wants to goad us into impeachment, because that he knows, as do I, that's not a good thing for the country. Well, maybe he knows that, but he knows that I think that. Let's put it that way. He knows that I think that. But the point is that every single day, whether it's obstruction of having people come to the table with facts, ignoring subpoenas and the rest, every single day, the president is making a case. He's becoming self-impeachable.
She didn't know what to do. She has never run into this before because they own the media. I mean, it's what I've been screaming about all these years, going to think tanks and saying, you got to get control of the narrative. You got to have movie theaters. You got to have more Fox Newses. You got to have stuff like the Daily Wire, except, you got to bring all this into the mainstream. But always with conservatives, it's always, no, what we need is another policy. We need a really stern editorial in the Wall Street Journal, and that's going to carry the day. And they do not understand that people making jokes, that people telling stories is everything. The left gets it. And that's why, we make fun of Jim Acosta because he's an absurd imbecile. And we make fun of CNN because nobody's watching them. I just love that story about how there are now more prostitutes in America than people watching CNN, which actually speaks well of America because prostitutes do something for you. But like Jim Acosta, look at me, I'm Jim Acosta, is a guy who is sitting there. Nobody's watching him because reality has a voice and people are turning to reality instead of watching CNN. But listen to him. Pretend he's standing there like a newsman. He looks like a newsman. He's even got the hair I think he's now got it pasted in a windswept look. So it looks like the wind is blowing it, but it's actually just rock hard on there. He is sitting there creating a narrative. He's not reporting the news. He's simply reporting Jim Acosta. Listen to this.
President Trump appears to be heading toward a constitutional crisis with House Democrats as he continues to hide the Mueller report as well as his tax returns from lawmakers. The White House is defending the president's use of executive privilege today, as it seems the art of the deal has turned into the art of the conceal. Playing a game of hide and seek, President Trump is pulling out all the stops to keep the full Mueller report out of the hands of House Democrats.
Mr. President, if the Mueller report clears you, why not let Congress see all of it, sir?
In a retaliatory strike, the president is now asserting executive privilege to block the report's unreleased materials from House Democrats after Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler sought to hold Attorney General William Barr in contempt of Congress for refusing to hand over what they want.
I mean, they've got everything. They've got the whole report, and they haven't looked at it. And the little bits that are still redacted, which is what they're living on, they're like those pictures of Al Gore of the polar bears on the shrinking ice floe. That's what they're like. Their story. They started out with a big ice floe of Russian collusion. They had that big ice floe, and then that kind of started to melt away, and it was chipping off, because now, they said, now, we've got obstruction of justice, right? And now they're down to 2% of the report is illegal to release, and that's the ice floe they're sending. So save the Democrats, keep that ice floe alive, and send your money in now. It is amazing. And even Erin Burnett, I think, she was talking to one of the, also, you haven't seen this because on CNN, and unless you're a prostitute, you're not watching, but she was talking to David Cicilline, who's also on the Nadler committee. And she's saying, if you're going to put on the impeachment show, why not do the real impeachment? Because she understands that the narrative is slipping away.
The president and his minions cannot stonewall the American people, cannot prevent Congress from doing its work and finding the truth, whatever it is.
I understand the points that you're trying to make, but when you say that this is contempt, second time in history, all of these things, I guess the question at this point is, if it is so dire and you have the power to launch impeachment proceedings, which you do on your committee, what is stopping you if this is so serious?
Well, look, I think there's no question that in President Nixon's impeachment, the third article of impeachment was obstruction of Congress. So there is no question that at some point, if the president's effort to stonewall and prevent us from getting information continues, that may form an independent basis for obstruction in and of itself. But what we have a responsibility to do first is collect all the evidence so we can make a fully informed judgment. We got part of the story in the Mueller report. That was the beginning of our work. We're asking for the balance of the report as well as all the supporting materials. It's important to remember in the Ken Starr investigation, when Ken Starr was done with that report, he delivered it to Congress with 18 boxes of documents.
And you know what they did after Ken Starr did that? They made it harder to do that because they were so angry that Ken Starr released all that material that kept Clinton basically in their sights. And also remember, of course, that the impeachment of Bill Clinton on far, far more likely and true grounds than they want to come after Trump on, really won Clinton the support of the people because they felt he was being persecuted.